Hello everyone, this is R.S. Miller at the EndTimeNews.org and today is August 13th, 2013. Is the U.S. prepping for war in Syria? Chairman of the U.S. Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, arrived in Israel on Monday, August 12th for critical talks with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon, and Chief of Staff Lieutenant Benny Gantz, followed by parallel talks in Jordan. According to DOD.gov, General Dempsey had come to lay the groundwork ahead of President Barack Obama's final decision to embark on limited U.S. military intervention in the Syrian civil war. They reported that the Obama plan had 11 high points. 1. U.S., British, French, Saudi, and United Arab Emirates will establish a no-fly zone over central and southern Syria. 2. The Israeli Air Force will provide air cover over Syrian airspace. 3. The creation of a 40-kilometer military buffer zone from the Jordanian-Israeli borders up to the southern and western outskirts of Damascus. 4. The southern Syrian town of Daraa, where the Syrian uprising sprang up, will be declared the capital of liberated Syria. 5. No U.S. troops on Syrian soil, only special Syrian rebel forces. 6. They will consist of 3,000 fighters trained in Jordan by U.S. military instructors and headed by Jordanian special forces under U.S. officers based in Jordan. 7. The U.S. Army has just finished building a huge training camp in Jordan complete with weapons and equipment required to train and arm the rebel forces. 8. U.S. Brigadier General John Wright, a veteran of the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya, will lead the operation from Amman, Jordan. 9. The U.S. Air Force units scattered around the Middle East are prepared to impose a no-fly zone over Syria at a moment's notice. 10. A Druze unit trained by U.S. military instructors will be a key component of the Syrian rebel force. And 11. U.S. forces deployed in the Middle East, especially in Jordan and Israel, will stand ready for possible reprisals against Americans, Israeli, Jordanian, or Turkish targets should there be retaliation from Syria. In a statement released by his office last week, General Dempsey expects to discuss the United States' unwavering commitment to Israel's security, including potential threats from Iran, the ongoing civil war in Syria, and uncertainty in the Sinai. The Daily Star reported that in Amman, General Dempsey said he would discuss possible ways to further bolster Jordan, where around 1,000 U.S. forces are now stationed, including troops operating F-16 fighter jets and Patriot missile batteries to deter any Syrian attack. Dempsey said it was important to take a longer view of the Syrian conflict and its regional fallout. More than 100,000 people have died so far in the civil war, and 1.7 million Syrians have been forced to flee to neighboring countries. This is a regional conflict that stretches from Beirut to Damascus to Baghdad, and it's the unleashing of historic ethnic, religious, and tribal animosities, Dempsey said. It will take a great deal of work and a great deal of time to resolve. Israel intercepts missile fire from Egypt. Israel has shot down a rocket fired from Egypt towards the Red Sea town of Eilat, days after militants blamed Israeli airstrikes that killed 4 fighters in the Sinai Peninsula. The Israeli army says it intercepted the rocket early Tuesday, but did not give details on where the rocket originated from. Mujahideen Shura Council in the environs of Jerusalem, a jihad organization operating in Gaza and Sinai, claimed responsibility for the rocket attack on Tuesday. A statement released by the group read that the rocket was launched to avenge the killing of 4 militant extremist Salafi group on Friday, claiming the attack was carried out by a Jewish unmanned aircraft. Eilat and other Jewish towns will not be enjoying security, tourism, or economy. Jews will pay for the blood of the jihad fighters, the message stated. It went on to say, terror possesses the hearts of the felonious Jews who rush to underground shelters, adding that senior officials stated releasing contradicting statements regarding the number of rockets that hit the town. We ask Allah to raise fear in their hearts. Sinai, its men, and its tribes are undefeatable, and the Zionist vanity will not manage to humiliate them, according to a report in Ynet News. The Israeli Iron Dome missile defense system was responsible for intercepting the Grad rocket fired at Elliot early Tuesday, the Israeli army said. Although there was no damage or injuries, several people were treated for shock. Unnamed Israeli security officials estimated at least one rocket was fired from the Sinai region in an area where the Egyptian army is operating against terror groups. Channel 2 reported 3 rockets were fired at the Israeli city. Hours after the incident, Israeli soldiers and security forces were still searching for the site where the rocket exploded. Violent clashes in Egypt with Morsi supporters. Violent clashes broke out on Tuesday afternoon in central Cairo as supporters of deposed President Mohamed Morsi came under attack as they marched to the Egyptian Interior Ministry. According to the BBC, the clashes occurred when crowds of pro-Morsi demonstrators marched through a neighborhood in Cairo where many people are staunchly opposed to the Muslim Brotherhood. The protesters are calling for the reinstatement of Morsi, who was overthrown by the military on July 3rd and is now being detained at an undisclosed location. The marchers, who are apparently attempting to force their way into the Ministry of Endowments but were prevented from doing so by police. Following their failure to enter the ministry, local opponents of the deposed president apparently began to taunt the marchers, and the situation quickly degenerated into violent clashes. Pro-Morsi marchers claimed that they were attacked by supporters of the new military-installed government, who threw stones and bottles at them from balconies up above. The pro-Morsi marchers then responded by also hurling rocks. Friends, the situation in the Middle East is about to prove Bible prophecy true and correct. The global governing bodies think that their work towards the establishment of regional peace and stability in the Middle East will benefit the world community as a whole. But what they don't seem to realize is that these efforts will do little more than place us on a fast track to the proverbial end of the world. This peace plan that the world is attempting to implement will at best fail miserably, and at worst end up being something that resembles peace but could actually be the prophecy of Daniel 9:27. Then he, speaking of the Antichrist, shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to the sacrifice and the offerings. These are the sacrifice and offerings which will have resumed in the third Jewish temple once it's rebuilt. It will also be what's known as the abomination of desolation and will trigger the Battle of Armageddon. This battle will take place in the last days and will be fought over Jerusalem. In Zechariah chapter 12, verses 2 through 3, God foretold what was going to take place over that tiny speck of land. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all the surrounding peoples, when they lay siege against Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples. All who would heave it away will surely be cut to pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it. Presently, the nations that are pressuring Israel to make peace with an enemy who's bent on their total destruction are not only fighting against Israel, but they are also fighting against God. And in verse 9, God says, "It shall be in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. In chapter 14, this is what can be expected of those nations who do fight against God. In verse 3, Zechariah says, "Then the Lord will go forth and fight against those nations as he fights in the day of battle." And moving down to 12, "And this shall be the plague with which the Lord will strike all the people who fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall dissolve while they stand on their feet. Their eyes shall dissolve in their sockets, and their tongues shall dissolve in their mouths." And by the way, these are the very effects on the human body from a nuclear blast at ground zero. And this prophecy was written thousands of years ago. That day is coming sooner than most people are aware of. The non-believing world leaders think that they can bring peace not only to the Middle East, but also to the entire planet, a kind of utopia here on earth. But in 1 Thessalonians 3, it states otherwise. "For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape." All signs are pointing to the fact that we are living in the last days. Thermonuclear war is coming, and mankind is incapable of doing anything to prevent it. The only hope for us is salvation through Jesus Christ. Are you saved? I truly hope you are. But if you are not, you can be. Just follow the link in the box below and pray the prayer of salvation with a sincere heart, and you will be saved. May God bless you.